Welcome to Pryor's Nursery, home of the living fence. We are a 10-acre evergreen farm located just north of Damascus, Maryland. We have 10,000 trees, 3 varieties, the Nellie Stevens holly, Leyland Cypress, and green giant. Come walk with me through the nursery and I'll show you the various plants we have for your privacy screen, the living fence. Thanks. Here we are at Pryor's Nursery at the very beginning of our operation. This is the nursery area. We take the rooted cuttings and we pot them up in small pots so they can develop a root system before we line them out in the field. You can see the good caliper of these cuttings, how they've developed. You see how well rooted the root ball is. It makes a big difference on the quality of your plants in the field if you develop a strong, larger liner before you put it out. The larger liner is able to hold up to the storms and the ice better, has a larger root mass to get established, and a potting mix with the proper nutrients adds organic material to the existing clay soils to enable them to move ahead rapidly. So when a cutting is made at Pryor's Nursery, when we start with a cutting, it's a full 2 years before that cutting makes it to the field. In this part of Pryor's Nursery, we have the green giant Arborvitae hybrid. It was designed in the state of Maryland about 30 or 35 years ago. It was chosen because of the strong central leader. It holds up to the storms really well. And at the base, the root mass of the green giant is very compact, anchoring it in well so that in periods of a lot of rain, when the soil is super saturated, the green giant holds up to the storms and doesn't blow over. The green giant is very rapidly established in your landscape, grows about 2 feet a year, and it is an excellent choice for the living fence. The green giant is also deer resistant, which is one of the few plants in the landscape that's deer resistant in the Northeast. In this area of the farm, we have the Leyland Cypress. The Leyland Cypress is one of the fastest growing evergreens that you can choose for your living fence. Its growth rate is about 2 to 2.5 feet a year. It's a soft, feathery type of evergreen, good choice for the living fence for rapid establishment. Because the Leyland Cypress is such a fast-growing evergreen, it's offered as perhaps the most cost-effective option where you need height right away in the garden. Now, you have the choice between the green giant, which holds up to the storms better, or the Leyland Cypress, which is a little less price. So those are options we must look at when choosing the living fence for your home. Here's another area of the small plantings we've done in Pryor's Nursery. This is about 5 or 6 days after Hurricane Sandy has come by, and you can see with our plants how well they're holding up. When our plants are little, we put a bamboo in at the base with a twisty tie so that they can hold up to the storms to develop that strong central leader. As you can see, all the plants do well because we are following established agronomical practices to develop a strong tree for your living fence. This is the Nellie Stevens holly we grow here at Pryor's Nursery. The Nellie Stevens holly will tolerate sun or light to mild shade. It's an excellent plant. It's a little slower growing than the Leyland Cypress. It grows at about 1 foot a year, maybe 14 inches. It's a very thick trunked plant, has a close fibrous root system to the ball, holds up to the storms well. The Nellie Stevens holly is one of the few living fence plants that can tolerate periods of wet feet. In a damp area, the Nellie Stevens will do better than the Leyland Cypress. Now, the Nellie Stevens holly, I've chosen the Nellie Stevens holly. It's a cultivar developed on the eastern shore of Maryland in the 1930s by a lady, Nellie Stevens. So, while not a native plant, it's a hybrid developed in the state of Maryland by a lady on the eastern shore. Now, I've chosen to use the Nellie Stevens holly because the leaves are not subject to the leaf miner. They get very little insect damage. Other types of hollies can have the leaf miner through the holly. I have probably 1,200 hollies, and I have not had to spray the hollies with insecticide for probably 7-8 years. The hollies, with their thick waxy cuticle, can tolerate a small population of insects. It's tough for the insects to get through this waxy cuticle. So I've chosen the Nellie Stevens to grow because I don't have to spray it. It's my farm. I do not want to handle a lot of insecticides and chemicals. The Nellie Stevens is also denser than other hollies in the shade garden. So it's an excellent choice. It was developed in Maryland in the 1930s. A great plant. Here at Pryor's Nursery, we have an interesting cultivar of the Leyland Cypress that's a dwarf. By dwarf, it only grows 6 inches a year. It's the variety Murray X. So for people that like the softness of the Leyland Cypress, but do not want it to get tall fast, we have the Murray X cultivar, the dwarf hybrid. It only grows at about 6 inches a year. It has a little lighter color on its tips than the regular Leyland Cypress, but it's very slow growing. This plant right here is probably 7.5 years old. It took 7 years to get this size. And of course, a Leyland Cypress in 7 years would have been already blocking the second-story window. So where you need height, you can use the rapid growing regular Leyland Cypress, and where you need something to stay small that won't overwhelm you right away, that you can prune and keep in bounds, we have the Murray X variety of Leyland Cypress. For people who need an immediate screen, Pryor's Nursery has Leyland Cypress and Green Giant that are 14 foot tall. So if you need to block a second-story window of a neighbor's, or you need to have your living fence right away, we at Pryor's Nursery have up to 14-foot high trees to install for you. All of these 14-foot trees have made it through the winter of 2010. An excellent, strong product. Thanks.